Hello, I am Michael, and today I will be presenting on Spotify and the different costs and pressures it faces in the music streaming industry. Spotify is the world's leading music streaming service provider. In the second quarter of 2021, Spotify controlled 31% of the world market. Its closest competitor, Apple Music, had less than half of that at 15%. Before we are able to make recommendations to Spotify as a company, we first have to analyze the music streaming market as a whole. The first thing to note about the music streaming industry is that there are massive barriers to entry. This is due to the vast amount of copyright laws that these music streaming companies have to weave around through making deals with the record labels that own these songs. Not only this, but it's also really hard to make your company profitable. These factors just make everything too hard for a company to enter the market, and really limits it to only large companies that have already established themselves in the music industry, such as Apple Music. This means that the music streaming service industry behaves like an oligopoly, with a limited amount of competitors. Spotify's main costs come from salaries, paying music labels, and expansion. In quarter 3 of 2022, Spotify's operating expenses grew by 65% year over year. These costs will continue to rise as Spotify competes to maintain its position as a leader in the music streaming industry. Now this poses the question, what does competition look like in the music streaming market? Because the music streaming industry is an oligopoly and these companies all have similar products, they have to compete in other ways aside from price, in a concept called non-price competition. One way they do this is through product differentiation. For example, one of the reasons people choose Spotify over Apple Music is due to the sophisticated and accurate machine learning algorithms created by Spotify that are used to recommend songs to users. Another way companies compete in the music streaming market is through advertisement. Spotify recently had a deal with FC Barcelona, running ads in Camp Nou, reaching tens of millions of TV viewers and all fans at the stadium in August and September. As mentioned earlier, companies in the music streaming market don't compete on price. Rather, price is determined through the tit-for-tat game strategy. Because companies in an oligopoly expect to compete with each other over a long period of time, and oligopolies are interdependent, both companies would choose to play tit for tat and keep the same price, which has been shown in the last few years with both Spotify and Apple Music, keeping their prices at a constant $9.99. If one company decreases their price, also known as cheating, the other companies will follow and they will all make less money. This payoff matrix shows how tit for tat works in the music streaming industry. If none of them cheat, they make the normal amount of money. If one firm cheats, they make more money, while the other makes less money. If they both cheat, they are better off than getting cheated, but worse than if none of them cheated. An example of this is if Apple charged $5.99 instead of $9.99 in the real world, they would make more money than Spotify because Spotify's customers would go to Apple Music. However, once Spotify sees this, they would also lower their prices, meaning both firms make less money. Recently, Apple has increased prices for both Apple Music Standard and Apple Music Family. Under the theoretical behavior of oligopolies, using the kink demand curve, we can conclude that Spotify should keep their prices the same. This is because oligopolies are assumed to be producing at the point between the elastic and inelastic portions, as shown here. Because of this, the change in price of Apple Music should actually have a big impact on the quantity demanded of Apple Music, and the users who used to use Apple Music would likely switch to one of their substitutes, in this case, Spotify. However, the kink demand graph is kind of an incomplete oligopoly theory, because it doesn't account for all the cases, and it also doesn't show us how they find the price at which the oligopolies will sell at. In many real-world cases, companies in an oligopoly will increase their price to match other firms. This is likely what will happen in the Apple Music and Spotify case. Due to general inflation, different costs such as server costs to keep these services up have increased. Therefore, these services have to increase their prices to keep up. Because of constant inflation in prices, consumers have been desensitized to small changes in price such as Apple Music's. Therefore, demand for Apple Music would still be relatively inelastic after the price increase, meaning it would be better for Spotify to also increase their prices. This was highlighted by Daniel Ek, Spotify's CEO, in his third quarter earnings call, saying that raising prices is something that he would like to do and is considering it in the upcoming year.